Don Buchla's designs because I call him the Leonardo da Vinci of electronic musical instrument design.
Yeah.
And so even if you don't buy a Buchla, you need to become aware of his design so that those can be absorbed into the languaging of electronic music now, the design of modules. So I guess you'd say they're expensive, but to me, technology was really expensive in my
Yeah.
day. I mean, I had one instrument that cost $200,000.
Wow.
Yeah, the synclavier.
Yeah.
And I mean, 50 megabytes of RAM cost $50,000. Technology was very expensive. So now I don't listen to complaints about the cost of things. If you want it, you will make the money to figure out a way to get it. Uh, in my day, I was lucky. There was a center, the first public access center for electronic music was the San Francisco Tape Music Center that was then housed at Mills College. And I could go there and play the first Buchla. The Buchla 100 was there. There was a Moog there, and you could get hands-on experience. And we need more of that today.
Yeah.
There's a center uh, in let's see, there's one in Australia. There's one in Sweden. Uh, we need more of these public access places so that kids can come in and get their hands on
Gotcha. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
instruments.
Now,
Yeah.
now, nowadays, with the level of technology, uh, with program and a fast computers, there are many kids, young kids, turning good stuff in electronic music without buying any instrument, with a computer and some graphics and fast video card and whatever memories. Nowadays, it's different. Obviously, it's different, but it's a lot becoming a lot easier to become a sort of electronic musician guy, which is not the same thing that you do, but
Well, there are two departments, and I've been in both of them. So my recordings are examples of studio albums, recorded music. But my live performance is distinct because it's in the moment, live interactive. And so with that distinction, I think designing instruments now, you have to choose whether you're going to make an interface that allows you to manipulate the sound in real time, or if you're making something that, is more sonically oriented to making layers of recorded sound. And my particular passion, of course, is the live performance. And I don't think we've seen the end of that story. I use some Bluetooth interfaces now for my effects, and I have graphic interfaces that I can, touch and control during performance. So I think that the graphic interface is an important ingredient. And other than that, I have the knobs, the dials, the sliders, and the patch cords. And, it's it's still fragile.
yeah.
When I get off the plane, I don't know if it's going to be functioning. So, but anyway, I commend the new young designers and just say, look at the the umbrella that you're under for your designs. Are you designing something live and interactive, or are you designing something? See, my theory was that it was never about the sound, but the way the sound moved. And Buchla's music is always moving in space, physically moving
Yeah.
in quadraphonic space. And to this day, there are negligible numbers of controls for moving sound in space live.
Yeah. Wow, that's beautiful. When you are touring and you're doing live gigs, and it's it's a lot of improvisation. I mean, I suppose that 80% of you have it, you know what you want to play, but the other 20 or whatever the percentage happens to be is you're improvising that day and that hour or whatever.
Yes, but let's look at improvisation. Even improvisation in jazz is usually based on an agreed, framework. It,
Absolutely.
yeah, it might be a standard, a song. And once you have that frame, you're free. You need a framework in which to dance. So you're not just going up and saying, well, gee, I'm going to play in space and anything goes. I mean, you can, but we need it just as a painter needs a frame. I have my basic materials that I improvise on, just like a jazz player. But my basic materials are sequences, four
Yeah.
sequences that I'm using. And then uh, I would be bored, if I knew everything that was going to happen. Every concert is different. But right now, they're based on the same materials.
Yeah.
So, maybe this doesn't speak to you. I mean, I know that the concert that you were talking about, the very first one, the live quad, that instrument was different from the one I have now because uh, I was using, modules that came only with the 200E. And once I started to play again, I missed some of my older modules, and I had those cloned. So my new instrument has a multiple arbitrary function generator. When I did the concert in the city, I had the dual arbitrary function generator. I had a different filter, and it was very nasal. And now I had a clone made of the old filter. So there are, sonic differences, and the equipment does affect. It's a collaboration when you're playing an instrument. Half of it is what the instrument can do, and half is what you do with the instrument, to say it simply. Um, and so the instrument's always changing because that's the nature of technology. So even today, while I'm in the pandemic, I've had the chance to break in some new modules.
Oh,
Yeah, so we'll
by
see
the
what
way,
happens.
have you ever, I don't know if you have met Wendy Carlos in your life or ever played with her?
She's a very good friend, and we communicate. I find her to be fascinating. She's a true intellectual, and she loves, astronomy and runs around the world looking at eclipses. And she's very sensitive and reclusive, also. But yeah, I think see, again, historically, Wendy was the enemy because here I was, a young synthesist in New York playing the Buchla and trying to communicate that there was a whole new language out there. And then Wendy comes out with switched on Bach.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not electronic music. That's Bach. That's Bach music, which I loved. But I think she set this whole thing back, generations, because people thought that it was about the sound.
Yeah.
Oh, it can sound like a flute. It can sound like a funny oboe. It can sound like this. And so I was upset with her. I still am, but I
Really?
like her.
Yeah. Yeah. But why? Sorry. Why there's, you say competition, but it's room for everybody. Are two different things. I mean, I follow, I don't know, 500 different bands, and there's some days that I want to listen to Genesis, other days that I want to listen to your stuff, other days I want to listen to Klaus Schulze, Tangerine Dream, Pink Floyd, Depeche Mode, Coldplay, blah, blah, because I have a lot, big collection. So it, it's the way I feel that day. It wouldn't be, it's not different, right? So it's great that people like different type of music, right? And different kind of food. If everybody like Italian food, the world will be boring, right? Or Japanese
Right.
food, or whatever happens. It's great that, you mentioned the word competition, but it's great that possibilities are there for guys like me, listeners, that can tune into this stuff or that stuff. That's right. Yeah.
And it's interesting, I think, because hearing is very subjective.
Yeah.
So the way you hear, my sister is an artist,
Yeah.
and she would take me to a museum.
Yeah.
When I went to a museum, I would go and I would have an experience.
Yeah.
But when I go with her, my experience was deepened because I had an educated,
Right.
conduit for these art, and I could read them in a deeper way. And so I'm always aware that, sometimes things just fly past our ears and we can't grab them. We don't even know what's there.
Yeah.
And if you have, as you have, a musical ear, that you have educated your ear, your listening is a deeper, you can appreciate on all levels. This is why, for a while I was associated with, a lot of my romantic music became called New Age. And people said, oh, New Age, that's elevator music. You don't even need to listen to it. And that was a real kind of, it was a shame, really, because then people didn't listen. They didn't know how to listen. They would hear something going by and, they would miss the depth of the music, the counterpoint, all the things that went into the architecture and the composition. So I appreciate listeners who have ears.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's, and the other reason that I mentioned Wendy Carlos is, for me, in many ways, I wanna create like a catalog of all these amazing people. This weekend I did 2 interviews with pioneers in electronic music in Germany, and I want to interview everybody. Time permitting. I want to put the interviews on my website, like they're for free, as I say, so everybody, all the young generation, can learn about your stuff, about Wendy's, and every single band in the world. So I want to, before many folks now in the mid 70s, I would not be able to tour or play or do interviews. So I'm in a hurry I want to talk to everybody. So, and Wendy Carlos is one of them that I have, I don't know, like 7 or 8 albums from her, and I know she's very reclusive, and I would love to, get a hold of her and, a 20-minute, 30-minute interview, because I wanna convey her side of the world to a lot of people, and I know she doesn't do that many interviews and stuff like that.
Well, she's working on her autobiography, so all of that will be coming out.
Yeah, well, I hope so.
Yeah.
I will. Can you tell me about the independent level with the private music with Peter Baumann? You did, I think, 6 or 7 albums in his label.
Well, I had already released 2 albums, and because, as I said, my albums were my babies, I didn't want to sign a traditional record deal. So I licensed my music. I licensed it to RCA. I licensed it to Atlantic Records. I refused to let them go. But Peter was my buddy. So I met him when he came to New York, and he wanted to start a label, and he asked me if I would basically help him get it started. And I said, well, Peter, I don't do record deals. I don't do traditional record deals. He said, oh, don't worry. I'll make sure you get everything back. And so I signed a deal with Peter, and then before you knew it, he was bought, half the label was bought by RCA. Then RCA was sold to, well, let's see, RCA was sold to BMG before that, because I'd already had that experience. But anyway, Peter eventually sold out the record, and it's owned by Sony. So I have 5 masters that I don't own.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
To my great sadness, but maybe I'll get them back. Wendy had albums on Sony, and she did get them back. So there's, whatever. Maybe I'll get them back. We'll see. But that was a kind of short-lived thing. And then after that, I started my own label.
Yeah.
Seventh Wave.
But you think you will have to kind of hire a lawyer to get the rights back?
I have a lawyer.
Yeah,
yeah.
They're working, to get the rights back. What kind of music do you listen now that you're at home, but you're not working in your new stuff, and or you listen to other stuff?
Well, I have to admit, I mean, one of my favorite things, I have this Alexa. I can't even say it out loud because she thinks I'm talking to her.
Yeah.
And I listen to certain things that just go in the background. I like Handel's Messiah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course.
I just love that piece. I just, it just has all different moods, and it's, I can listen to it 1,000 times, and it's always new. So I love that, and then my niece comes with her boyfriend, and we'll explore. Last night we listened to a Japanese composer, Takahashi something, and or Takashi something, I can't remember. And so I just kind of explore. People send me things. Some of it I like, some of it I never want to hear again, and what can I say? I try to give it, the respect that listening, and art deserves for listening.
You are scaled to play with, I think, with Manuel Goshin in April in Germany. And if there a possibility of that will happen, or it will depend on COVID. But what do you think?
Yes, well, I still have to get my vaccination, and I have to work on that this morning. I have to get on the list. So we'll see. I don't think any of us knows what's going on because there's a new strain. There's no, who knows? Who knows? So, but someday. But right now, I'm very, very deeply engrossed in my so-called archives. So I've had this vault of materials that's been sitting there for 30, 40 years.
Oh my God, man.
Oh my God. And I just need to deal with it. So it's a nightmare. You talk about, producing an archive. It's a lot of work. And it's unknown work because the ongoing life of digital material is very unknown. You put something in a digital format and 10 years later you can't open it. So anyway, I'm working on that. And I have, boxes and bags of all kinds of things. SideQuest drives, zip drives, CD storage. There are all these things that have collected.
Yeah.
Old magazines.
And it's going to take a while, I suppose, to go through each one and then, either not liking it, improving it, and then combining that with another one. So so I suppose years of work. It's not that you can say, well, a year I can, turn on my phone and my computer and then deal with stuff. I suppose, yes.
Yeah,
Maybe
it's a
teach
good
your niece.
pandemic thing, but I need to get it to the next stage where I can stop. I mean, right now my house is just a mess. It's got piles and piles of stuff every place. So I have to get back to work on that right now.
Yeah. You need to teach your niece to hire her as a helper and to took over your stuff. So,
Right, right. You're right.
do
Yeah.
I have time for another two questions?
All right. Okay, here we go.
Uh, so, uh, so that will be, is any particular artist, musician that and people that you like that you can recommend? So I could interview and bring into to the show people that you may have access that I wouldn't know the name, or I'm always looking for new people, new artists, and any
Oh,
particular that.
well, gosh, let me think. Uh, there is maybe I should email you those.
Yeah, that would be, yeah,
Yeah,
that would
okay.
be
Okay,
good.
I'll think about it and I'll email them to you.
And the last question, where our listener can buy your music?
Well, we released the last album on Bandcamp, but it's available every place. The thing about it is that it's quadraphonic. So it's improvisation on four sequences at Festival Antigel. And it also has an ambisonic mix, so it's compatible, with stereo. There's a stereo version. And now we're working on it on an LP, a stereo compatible quadraphonic LP. The quad LP that you mentioned actually had a decoder in it, right? So you paid $227 and you got this piece of hardware that would allow it to be decoded in quad. But now that spatial music is becoming more popular, there are in fact decoders out there, Dolby Atmos, and even Apple is getting, spatial music. So we can now release a quad LP that will decode automatically in your sound system,
Great,
and
thank you.
that's what I'm doing.
Thank you very much, Suzanne, for your time and spending an hour with me. Good luck to you. I hope that you can, apply the vaccine soon and keep on recording great music and go into your archive and, get all the stuff out. I appreciate it. Thank you. Have a
Thank you,
good.
Claudia. It was a pleasure to
Same
meet you
here.
this morning. Take care.
Thank you. You too. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.